Salutations, viewers. My name is GameDame, and welcome back to another one of GameDame Reacts, where we have the official gameplay overview for Path of Exile 2. Now, I've played a little PoE before, and I didn't like it at first, and then I gave it another try, and then I ended up liking it, except then I just got overcame by a whole bunch of other games. But I do think PoE can be quite fun, depending on what build that you do. Of course, that's dependent on any game that is much like PoE. So let's go ahead and watch the Path of Exile 2 gameplay overview trailer.
Welcome to Path of Exile 2.
Thank you.
I'd like to start off by showing some of the gameplay of Act 3, one of the 6 acts in PoE 2's campaign.
Okay,
Starting
sick.
here in the jungle depths. Act 3 is set in the ruins of the Vile civilization, which fell thousands of years ago. Jungle has taken over their former once great cities, and we'll be exploring it using one of our 6 new character
Well,
classes
it might be a
called
good
the Monk.
thing for the jungle to kind of take over, you know, all the natural shit coming back.
And intelligence. When looking at the design of PoE 2, though, we realized that many of the new skills that we were trying to design just didn't really fit thematically with the existing classes that we have. Being a spellcaster with a bear form makes sense for Strength Int, but it doesn't really sound like something that a Templar would do.
Yeah, that's
we realized that
interesting.
Since we had new mechanics for every attribute combination, it actually made sense to design new character classes to explore the new themes.
Oh.
In PoE 2, every attribute combination has 2 classes associated with it. Strength Int has the Templar or the Druid. On Dexterity, you have the Ranger or the more spear-focused Huntress. And on Dex Int, you have the Shadow and the Monk, which Mark has played.
That's pretty interesting.
Each class has its own 3 ascendancies that let you
I like how many more
specialize
classes
the class
they brought
that
into
class
this.
has access to. But they both start at the same location in the passive tree. The quest rewards you're offered on the 2 variants are tailored to the class, but of course, this is PoE. You can still mix and match anything to your heart's content.
Of course, which is awesome. Oh man, big old boss, silverback blackface.
In PoE 2, every area of the campaign contains a boss of at least this difficulty. That's over 100 bosses to fight as you make your way through the campaign.
Over 100 bosses? That's fucking insane. That's absolutely insane.
As you've seen from watching Mark fighting, the melee combat in PoE 2 has a very different feel than before.
Oh yeah, for
We've
damn
done a lot
sure.
Of things to add mobility to combat.
There's a lot more
Every
mobility.
melee skill in PoE 2 has some kind of movement built into it. The Monk in particular is a melee fighter who specializes in mobility over brute strength.
I definitely prefer more of the mobility builds, even though if it takes a little bit longer to kill the enemy at hands, I still think mobility is a bit better. Especially if you're able to just chunk them like consistently. Because like if you're just like a glass cannon and can't move much, you can hit hard, but like you're not going to be able to dodge shit very easily. But of course it just all depends on your playstyle. If you like to be small, or not small, slow, big and slow, then by all means do your damn thing. That's how I was in some Dark Souls games. I was just big, dumb, and strong, and very slow.
So, as Mark has been playing, you might have noticed these blue markers over enemies. Mark has a skill equipped called Killing Palm. Whenever an enemy has a blue indicator over it, it means the monster has low enough life to cull with Killing Palm. Successfully executing the cull will give you a power charge. This is an important skill for the Monk, since many of his skills interact with power charges.
Yeah, that is very good to know.
It has a built-in dash forward, which makes it much easier to target the skill at the right point when you need it. We've done a lot of work in PoE 2 to make using skills like this feel satisfying. If you're accidentally targeting slightly off the monster, the skill will automatically lock on to the cullable target, and will even do a small amount of pathfinding around obstacles. We really want to make sure that when you've got an opportunity to use the skill, nothing is going to get in your way.
Nothing's going to get in your way. Fuck yeah, that's what I like to hear.
Once you have some power charges, you need some skills to power up. A great follow-up is Falling Thunder. Falling Thunder without a power charge just creates a relatively small lightning AoE in front of you. But do it with some power charges and it turns into a pack clearer with a large number of extra projectiles. One thing you'll notice here is that like almost every melee skill in PoE 2, Falling Thunder has a bit of extra movement built in just in case you need it. Using the skill within range and you'll do a flip in place.
Oh, the flip's pretty cool. Yeah, the movement and just like the animation that they do is really cool. They did a good job with that.
In PoE 2, you also get a short period to redirect your target. Notice how you can start the skill facing one way, then whip the mouse sideways to land the skill in a different direction? In order to get power charges, you're going to first need to get some lower life monsters into a colorable range. You've got a few options. If you want to charge right in, Whirling Assault is
Oh,
a good
damn.
option. It doesn't do much damage per hit, but it covers a lot of ground. And notice how you can turn as you do it?
Yeah, the turning is really
Generally
cool
speaking, you
that
never
you're
lose
able to
control
do
of your
that.
character in PoE 2. If you make a turn at the right time, you can get a couple of extra hits in on the monsters, getting them into range of your cull. Follow up with a Killing Palm, then finish off the rest of the pack with your Falling Thunder. We've now entered the Vaal Mechanarium. This is the place where the Vaal built the various constructs they relied on to power their civilization.
Now this is a find. A Vaal
Oh,
ruin that hasn't been looted.
that's pretty
I
sick.
wonder why nobody's been in here before.
Probably because it's the riddled
One
with
useful feature that we've
booby
added
traps.
is the ability to call in NPCs to where you are, to give you more information, help you with quest objectives, and so that you don't have to always go back to town. In this case, we'll call in Alva to find out what to do.
This mechanism. If
And I know that
Alva's
PoE has a lot of
soul
great
could open that door.
narrative,
It should
and
definitely be
the
solved
writing
or
is really
somewhere.
well done.
They had to power these constructs somehow.
Somehow. They had to,
As
somehow.
Alva said, we need to find a soul core to open this door. Let's explore. If you want to shave off some life without getting too close to some of the more dangerous monsters, a good option is Wind Blast. Wind Blast also doesn't do too much damage, but it keeps the enemies back. The closer they are, the farther they're pushed back, so it's a great option for keeping smaller but high damage enemies at bay. Note that the bigger the enemy is, the less they'll be pushed back, so trying to push back some giants isn't going to be effective.
Oh, but you
And
could
there's the
certainly
soul core.
try.
Let's get back to the door.
The hell is that thing? Just got a giant barrier around it. Oh, I'm sure you're gonna fight it in just a moment here. My boy's probably memorized this path already.
Your fate is sealed.
Oh, that wasn't too far gone. I want you to fight that enemy that had the shield.
Consider me impressed. I'll keep investigating in here. Bring me in if you find anything else.
If you need to defeat tougher enemies,
You-
it might be time to break out some of the ice skills in the monk's arsenal. Glacial Cascade.
She's
creates a
just
wave
like,
of
you do
ice
the
that
heavy
moves slowly in
lifting.
front
I'm
of
just
the
gonna
player.
be back here.
It's pretty ineffective against fast-moving monsters because most of the damage occurs right at the end of the wave, and so a lot of monsters will just walk right by it. But if you can find a way to make a monster stop at just the right place, it can be very effective.
Yeah, it
In order
looks
to do that,
effective.
you probably want to freeze monsters. The monk has a few different tools to do this. A fairly simple option is to get right in the monster's face with Ice Strike. Ice Strike doesn't do too much damage on the first two hits, but attack 3 times in sequence and you can get off a combo that has a much higher chance to freeze. Get in there with that freeze, then roll back and finish the job with a Glacial Cascade.
I do
Now,
like
remember
this
how
Ice
Glacial
Monk
Cascade
build.
has
I
an
think
extra
it's
damaging
really
spike at the end?
cool
If
and
you've hit a frozen
different.
enemy with that spike, it shatters the ice on the enemy and does a devastating amount of damage.
A rotted rat. That was a big
Oh, yeah,
fucking
I
rat.
just casually mentioned rolling back before. Did I forget to mention that in PoE 2 we added a dodge roll to every character?
Oh, that's
Just press
sick. Thank
spacebar
God you
anytime to
guys
roll.
added a
There's
dodge
no
roll.
cooldown,
Jesus
no
Christ.
limitations. It even has a bit of built-in pathfinding so you don't get stuck on things. When you dodge roll, you're not invulnerable. If something hits you, you're going to feel it, but most things will not hit you. That's because while rolling, projectiles and melee strikes will always miss. You'll have to roll out of the way of a slam that has AoE, but anyone swinging a sword or throwing a fireball is going to miss.
Okay, so
Now,
AoE
another
still
really
counts,
important
but
function of the dodge
like
roll
more
is that it lets you
targeted
cancel out of
things
almost any
don't
skill at any time.
apply to
This
the
makes it
roll,
so you don't
which
feel
is
like you're getting
nice.
stuck doing a long animation when something is about to hit you. It really changes how skills with longer attack and cast times play, and it makes dodge roll feel like a very reliable way to avoid attacks. So, that's one way to get out of the way of damage.
Ooh, yeah, this
but the
build
monk
is
specializes in
sick.
mobility, so it makes sense that he would have a few more. Wave of Frost is one of our new attacks with a retreat built right in. You move backwards and throw out a cold attack with a significant freeze.
Gotta
The
get
great thing
this
about
big boy
is that it puts
sentinel.
you at a good distance to follow up with Glacial Cascade and do a whole
Yeah, the
pile of
glacial shit, like if you freeze
Hey,
him
look,
and fuck
another
him up
soul
with
core.
that, it seems really good. Like it just kills them instantly.
Another skill you can use to get some extra freeze is Shattering Palm. Shattering Palm is another palm strike with a small ice bomb on your target. Kill or deal enough damage to the target and the bomb will explode, doing some damage and a significant freeze. It's a great option against bosses where the wave of ice might not be enough to get that freeze off, but you really want to get that Glacial Cascade damage bonus.
Get back.
Oh, yeah, these rats. Fucking
The final
city
skill I'm gonna
rats.
show you today
That's what
is
they are.
Flicker Strike. It's a monk skill now, and another skill that consumes power charges. If you've played PoE 1, you know what to expect. It's a great finisher for tough boss fights, and it looks pretty impressive too.
Oh shit, that's really fucking cool. Yeah, a lot of this is really cool.
Another door. I wonder what could be in there.
Yeah, but be careful, you got some stone. The sentinels in here are gonna fuck your day up if you don't freeze them. Yeah, that freeze is insanely good. I don't know anyone that would leave that much gold. Like, 16's not a lot of gold, but I would never even leave like 5 gold pieces behind. Ice and
In
fire.
order to take down this boss, we're going to need all the tools in the monk's arsenal, especially the combo of freeze and glacial cascade. If you're a PoE 1 player, you might think that you can't really rely on freeze because there's so many bosses that are immune to it. But in PoE 2, that's changing significantly.
Oh,
In PoE 1,
sick.
freeze is a binary mechanic. An attack freezes the target, or it doesn't. What this basically means is that in PoE 1, we were forced to add freeze immunity to many bosses, because freeze just trivialized them. Because of that, freezing was something you only really used while pack clearing, and not something you could rely on as a core part of your build
But
for boss fights.
this you can in PoE 2.
PoE 2 though, all crowd control mechanics now have internal meters that allow you to build up to a freeze or stun, or whatever other CC mechanic you might be using.
That's nice, because
It's a
then
little
you
bit
wouldn't.
like poise
Then
from games
freeze
like
builds
Elden
weren't a thing
Though
in
the meters seem to be
PoE
a lot
1,
smaller
but
than
now they're going to be more of a thing in
When you
PoE
freeze
2.
an enemy, it increases the amount of freeze you need to do another freeze, but the increased difficulty bleeds away slowly. More freeze will always let you freeze the boss more often, but this system means it will not get out of control in party play or interact badly with other CC mechanics, allowing us to let these kinds of mechanics actually work against all bosses.
That I like the way they're doing this now with this all these mechanics. They're really doing a good job of just being like, you know what? It's just highlighting any form of stun, freeze, or something along those lines. Whatever they have in that build, it's not just constrained. Like, yeah, oh yeah, this you're gonna suffer because you did this certain type of build now. Which I don't disagree with either, because then you just gotta play to your style. But then you have to really rethink of another plan if you aren't able to get them down. So I like the way that they did this. I think it's really well done. My breath is fire. Ooh, that was a good bit of damage. Oh, he's almost dead though, so he'll be donezo in just a moment. Yeah, buddy. Right goddamn there.
Blackjaw has dropped a consumable quest item, the Flame Core. It's a permanent +10 to Spirit.
Is that gonna... Okay.
In PoE 2,
+10
we
to
really
Spirit.
want to make sure that you feel rewarded for exploration. It wouldn't be much good if we made all these awesome optional bosses if we didn't have something great to find for killing them.
I agree.
One of the things you might find for killing a boss is a permanent stat bonus to your character.
If you're gonna have those optional bosses, it would definitely be better for you to just have some sort of incentive at the end. Otherwise, it's like, why did I go and get that boss anyways to begin with, or look through this dungeon? Oh, my boy's getting fucked up. He got a lot of people on his tail. Oh, does he? Oh, no, those are the skeletons that have the electricity. What are these things? Rusted something, like rusted robot or rusted sentinel. I'm assuming this was already there. Uh-oh. Look at all of these. Come on, you didn't want to fight all those
In
sentinels.
order to help us with this next area, we're going to call in a sorceress. Mark's friend, Octavian, is going to send a friendvite, which we're going to accept. And then they can play together.
Oh, that's sick. Like, automatically be right there.
The sorceress is the new intelligence-focused character in PoE 2. While the witch focuses more on occult magic and summoning, the sorceress is themed around pure elemental destruction.
Hell yeah. We love pure elemental destruction.
Technology of the Val, and look where it got them. Dead and buried. This is the largest soul core I've ever seen. With this, we could power the canal systems. But it isn't charged.
You'll just have to
There is still
figure it out. You gotta charge it.
stream from its ancient
Use your big
operation.
brains.
These lines in the stonework should lead to generators. You might need to find some more soul cores to spin them up, but everything looks to be in surprisingly decent
That's because
condition.
it hasn't been touched for so
Maybe
long.
the golems have been maintaining it. In any case, it should still function. We'll have to remove that large core from the wall, of course, but that shouldn't be a problem.
We have some skills here that you'll probably recognize if you've played PoE 1 before, but they feel a bit different to play now. Spark is great in these tight passages since it bounces around. We've added a
Oh,
pierce
that's
support gem
sick,
to really allow it
yeah.
to hit an entire room of
Now
targets.
she is
For a more single target focused
Li-
skill,
the
Arc
lightning
is a good
bringer.
choice. It does more damage to the first target you hit.
which makes sense. More damage to the first target we hit.
Now, if you find yourself surrounded, it might be good to use Ice Nova. It hits all enemies around you and slows them down with chill. Just be careful.
Oh, so do
Getting
you
up close
have
and personal
two?
isn't the ideal place for a sorceress to be. She doesn't have the
Looks like you
defenses
can
of
have
a more
two,
melee-oriented
maybe
character.
three. It looks like
If
on
you wanna
the
help with
bar
the
that I'm
sorceresses
blocking,
with
she's
new
also
weapons,
got
though,
flame.
You could use Arctic Armor. In PoE 2, Arctic Armor is a buff that builds up as you stand still. You can see the ice crystals forming around the character.
Oh, that's cool.
They'll drop off if you walk. When monsters hit you, they take cold damage and build up to a freeze, so it's a great defense. Just be careful. You have to be standing still for a little while to get the full effect, so trying to stutter step isn't the best
Oh, okay, I see.
strategy. Now, Arctic
So I
Armor
wonder
is an
how
ongoing
many
buff, but did you notice that you
combos
reserve
there are
any
going to
mana?
be.
How does that work? Well, we were pretty sick of the fact that in PoE 1, basically every character was playing with no mana pool, so we decided to change the way that reservation works. There's a new resource in PoE 2 called Spirit. Spirit is a dedicated resource you can use for ongoing effects like Arctic Armor, Heralds, Auras, or even Minions.
That's
Everyone
really
starts with
cool.
100 Spirit, which is enough for most ongoing effects. But if you want
Kinda
more
reminds
than one
me of,
effect, you're going to need some more Spirit. Spirit is
Diablo
available
4
on
with the
mods
way
for
that they
items
have
on
it.
the
They just have
passive
it
tree.
named differently
But
for
if you're
everybody.
willing to give up your offhand slot, the easiest way to get it is by holding a scepter. Now, if you want to increase the cold damage you're dealing, you can use a Frost Bomb. It places a bomb on the ground that reduces the enemy's cold resistance while it's ticking down. It's a great opportunity to use some cold skills before it explodes. And speaking of cold skills, a great skill to use on monsters with the slower cold resistance is Comet. This is a new skill in PoE 2.
Oh,
and it's pretty
yeah,
damn
Comet
hard.
is very
It costs a lot of
familiar.
mana and has a really long cast time, but it's worth the wait. It does a devastating amount of damage. To help get you out of danger, your character moves back slightly.
Oh,
and
that
cast.
one's cool. The
It's
way
pretty
they
hard to hit a
had
fast-moving
it was
opponent,
really
but
cool.
it's great on tougher enemies that stand still, or even a larger pack if you're further away and can predict where they're going to move.
Can you? Okay, so that's just the frost armor. I was
Now,
like, does
if
she
you
look
run out of mana
frozen?
casting too many of those, I guess in an emergency you could cast your free-to-cast Fireball. Where did that come from, you ask? Well, this is a great opportunity to explain the way we've changed caster weapons in PoE 2. Now, in PoE 1, caster weapons had a default melee attack that nobody used, and because they had that, they also had a bunch of attack mods that would spawn in them that were useless to a caster.
Oh,
In PoE 2, we wanted to clean that up.
Thank
so now
goodness.
each staff comes with a built-in free-to-cast spell. Just put it on and spam to your heart's content. Now, this particular staff is the base type that you get right on the starting beach, and it's quite likely that you're going to outgrow it. So that's why we have a lot of staves with more utility-focused powers for casters to use.
okay. What else you
Here
got?
we have a crystal staff. It's got a pretty cool built-in spell called Unleash. Using it slams your staff on the ground, and will allow you to triple cast whatever you cast with your next spell. Now, of course, you're probably going to want to use that with something powerful.
Oh,
Comet's
that's
great.
fucking sick. I can't imagine
You'll notice that
that's
Unleash
really
is one of the
cool.
few skills in PoE 2 with a cooldown. In general, we really try to avoid using cooldowns because we really hate the feeling that combat is just waiting to be able to use your next skill. But it does make sense for Unleash since it's free to cast and it's something we want you to be using situationally anyway.
No, that makes sense.
Now,
I
if you're
get
facing
their
something tough,
mindset,
you
but
might
like
wanna try
some
out Mana
things
Tempest.
will just have to
Mana
have a
Tempest creates
cooldown.
a circle of power in which your character literally hovers over the ground. While in the
Can't be
circle, your
endlessly
mana
doing
drains,
shit.
but it powers up all of your spells. Lightning projectiles fork, beams chain further, and you'll also do a lot more damage.
Yeah, I really like the sorceress. I like the monk and the sorceress. I'm always gonna like the sorceress build or witch stuff. Like, magic is just one of my favorite things, but that melee monk build is also
So with
really
all of these
cool.
skills, here's a great combo to try. First, cast Frost Bomb to reduce the target's cold resistance. Then use Mana Tempest to increase your damage. Follow up with Unleash, and then triple cast the Comet to do a truly insane amount of damage.
Yeah, that is an insane amount of damage for damn sure. Holy shit.
I need more time.
The cast, the sorceress definitely has a bit of a cast time,
This rare monster
which
dropped
is
an
fine.
untouched
It makes
gem.
sense as to
This
why
is a
they
good
do.
opportunity to talk about how skill gems drop in PoE 2.
Oh,
Instead
skill
of dropping
gems.
specific gems, you can find uncut gems. Just right-click on them and pick whatever skill you want.
Oh,
The
that's
gem will come pre-leveled
sick.
to the level of the
There
area
you're
that
able
dropped
to
it,
just pick
so it's a lot
whatever
easier
you want
change
it to
between
be.
skills in PoE 2. This time, I think it might be cool to grab one of our meta gems. Meta gems are skills that can have other skills socketed into them, changing how they work. In this case, we're going to select Cast on Shock. Now, let's equip this thing in the skill screen and choose a spell to trigger with it. I think Comet might be fun. Because Cast on Shock reserves Spirit, we'll need to first disable our Arctic armor. We have to decide if we'd rather have the extra defense or the extra offense of the Cast on Shock using our Spirit. In PoE 2, trigger gems use a system of filling up cast time on each trigger. Basically, if a skill has a short cast time, then we'll trigger it really often. If it's got a long cast time, like this Comet here, it will take a lot longer to trigger. You can see up the top left that there's a counter that says how far it is until your next trigger. And there you
Oh,
are.
wow.
Cast on Shock will automatically cast Comet whenever we're
That's
using our lightning
fucking
skill.
nice. Imagine being caught in the friendly fire with this. Oh
we've found the
man, I can't
generator.
even imagine.
Time to power it up.
It's like, hey, I thought you weren't gonna do that. Well, I did. Sorry about that. Oh, I bet you're gonna have to follow the 3 areas.
As power is restored to the Mechanarium, all the constructs are coming back to life. We'll need to fight them on the way back to the charged Soul Core.
I mean, makes sense. You're recharging the entire
One thing that
temple.
PoE 1 players might have noticed is that this character has both ice and lightning spells. That's pretty inefficient, isn't it? It's a big no-no for most builds because any specialization into cold or lightning isn't going to affect the other element. And generic elemental damage increases are not going to be as powerful as focusing on a single element. Well, in PoE 2, we have another major new system to introduce to
Oh,
solve these kinds
fuck
of
yeah.
problems, and it starts with Weapon Swap. Now, in PoE 1, Weapon Swap isn't really used much for its originally intended use case.
So
We
what they
imagined
do
that
differently?
People were going to be swapping in and out between different weapons to deal with whatever situation they were in. People just don't do that at all, and a large reason for that is because it's really awkward to do. In PoE 2, we wanted to solve that. The staff Octavian is using here has an ice mod on it that makes it great for when he's using his ice spells. We would also like to be able to make sure that the build works just as well for his lightning spells. If Octavian equips his previous staff in his second weapon set, you can see that it appears on the character's back. Now we're going to open up the skills screen. If Octavian opens up the skill options for his lightning skills, you can see here that you can choose which weapon sets are usable.
I do
for each
think, I
skill.
mean, this is a very
First, we
complicated
uncheck set one
system.
from being used by
So
his
the
lightning
UX
skills.
UI
Then we go
is
through
a
the cold
lot.
skills
Like,
and turn those off
PoE
with his
has a
lightning.
heavier learning curve than most games, knowing with where everything is, which I definitely don't disagree
Now,
with
when
the
we
way
use
that they
Spark,
do it, but
the
I feel
character
like
will
there
automatically
definitely could be
switch to
better
writing
ways.
stuff on
They
his
just
back
have to be
and then
explored.
use the skill.
I'm not making any
When Octavian uses
recommendations
Ice
on
Nova,
it, but
his character automatically switches over to
I
his
do
ice
know
style
as a
before
new
using it.
player to PoE, it was
Pick
very
each
hard to
skill for which
grasp.
set to use,
But it
or
looks
both
like
if you
they're
don't mind
taking
which.
better care of
There's
that.
a very short time penalty to switching, so it can be good to leave some skills on both sets if it doesn't matter which weapon set you're using. But we still have the problem of passives. Wouldn't it be nice if we could specialize in both cold and lightning passives on the character? Well, in PoE 2,
Oh
you
wow,
can.
this skill tree
We're
is
on the
nuts.
passive skill screen here, and you can see that we're close to both a cold and a lightning cluster. At the top right of the screen, you can see where we have some weapon set specific points to allocate. If Octavian holds shift, he can allocate set 1 to the cold passives, and then allocate set 2 to the lightning passives.
Oh.
Now check this out. As we weapon swap, our passive tree changes from one build to the other automatically.
That is
Whenever we
so
cast the appropriate spell,
cool.
the character's passives reconfigure on the fly to the correct build for that
Wait, you
spell.
can interchange. You don't have.
Now, you
That
can't do
is
this with every
awesome.
passive on
I
your
think
tree.
that's my
Only
favorite
points
part
granted from
is being
skill
able to
boosts will
switch
allow this kind of
between
dual
which type of
specialization.
elements that you
So you
do.
can't change from a mace slamming warrior into a fire elementalist with the press of a button, but it certainly increases the number of options you have for builds.
So you don't have to have a
huge
different
number of places
character
where
for
the system
different
can
builds.
shine.
Like if you want to
You
have
could
multiple
augment your Dagger Shadow
sorcerers,
build with traps, or have a great
different
curse setup
elements,
on
you don't
your
have to
witch in
do
one
that.
step, and then move to your
Well,
cast
as
debuff
much.
spells with the other. It really opens up your options.
I need more time.
Another fun meta gem to try out is called Barrier Invocation. This works a little bit like the trigger gem I talked about
Okay.
before, but this one charges up as your energy shield is hit by monsters. I think we might like to put an Ice Nova in this one. The more energy shield you lose, the more charge builds up until the point where you're able to cast the skill you socketed.
yeah, like
instantly.
that right there. I don't understand exactly what he did, but I mean that just comes
Lose some
along
energy
with
shield,
the
and then
game.
at just the right time, invoke Ice Nova to cast all the stacked up versions in one cast.
Oh, that's cool.
If you keep losing shield, you'll build up even more charge for even more casts, so it's a great defensive option in an emergency.
Yeah, it does look like a great defensive option for damn sure. That was a little bit of overkill right there, but hey, that's totally fine.
And here we are back at the charged Soul Core. All we have to do now is take it. How hard could that be?
Oh, you know, there's no boss around here at all.
Oh dear.
Who would have guessed that was the boss?
That to you.
Yo, he is cool looking. The character designs and the enemy, like all the designs of like every single type of character enemy, or I should just say character, have been so well thought out with the appropriate area that they're in. Yeah, that is so devastating. Oh my lord. That is a bunch of shit right there. He's got like stone snakes. Your fate is sealed. This boss doesn't seem that hard to play against. But I mean, I would imagine how different it would be to have one go against him and not two. So two definitely, I don't know if it makes them harder or what if you have a companion. I would imagine it brings up the difficulty at least a little
So
bit.
that's Path of Exile 2. Your next question is likely to be, when is the beta? Well, we're in our last year of development, finishing acts, adding skills, and balancing everything. The closed beta will start on June 7th, 2024.
Sick.
Path of Exile 2 has been a long time coming, and we're incredibly excited to be near the finish line. But we're not quite there yet. We are determined not to rush this and make sure that we get it right. Thanks for watching.
No, I agree. Take your time, especially on a game as big as this. But I seriously think they're doing a lot of great things that make it a lot more user-friendly, especially that being able to switch back and forth between your different ability or move sets. I'm not sure how many times you're able to do that. Maybe twice. Maybe it looks like 2 times because you can only carry one other weapon. But that definitely takes down the amount of characters you'll have to make and go through stuff again, because then you could just easily switch between 2 different, now I wouldn't say play styles, maybe play styles, because you are going to get 2 different weapons, but just like elements, at least for the sorceress, and I would imagine that applies to the other people as well. I love how they added a role to every character. Like, that's really nice, and they have just really well thought out the gameplay of it all. I do still think the UX UI needs a little bit of work, but it is a very robust game, so they might be doing the best they absolutely can. So I hope that it'll be a lot easier for new people coming to PoE. Let me know in the game let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of the gameplay overview trailer, because there is a lot of juicy stuff in here. Amazing characters, awesome dungeons, new add-ons, changes. Let me know in the comments down below. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I highly appreciate your time as always. But please do not forget to subscribe and or follow not only to my YouTube, but to my Twitch. You guys know where my YouTube is at. You can find my Twitch at twitch.tv/thegamedame. Thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.